Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to look at the different question types in a Socratease quiz on AutoProctor. The first question type is that of an MCQ, multiple choice question. So you have the question, you have multiple choices, any number of them, we have only two here. The next is that of an MCA, so multiple correct answers. So here again question, but there could be two correct answers or more, of course, right? The next is that of a short text. So we call it short text, but it could actually be fairly long. For example, a question like write an essay on the events leading up to the Second World War. You can start with, it all began. Now, you can also set number of characters within this. Then we have a coding editor, and so here you can choose. It's been set to be Python, but you could, as the test creator, you can choose multiple languages, and then you can write code here, right? So you could write x equals x5, and then you also get hints. The next question type is that of a single line input, and then you could have, if I just move away, so you can just have what is your email ID, you can write something like this. I'll also show you later that you can see here it says please enter part following at the rate of, so it also, you can set up validations. You can say this must be of an email type, right? And so that's the single line input. Then we have a close. So a close question type is where you have a statement, you have blanks, and the blanks are to be filled. So in chess the colors are black and white, and then each player has 16 pieces, right? And so this is like fill the blanks where you drag and drop. The other question type is what we call match. So basically there are two columns, and you match, for example here, match the world wonders to the country they're in. The Taj Mahal is in India, the Colosseum is in Italy, and so on, right? And then you can reset this if you want. A close relative is that of a categorize type of question. So you have here a bunch of objects, and then classify the following into fruits and vegetables by dragging and dropping them. So carrot, vegetable, tomato, people may argue, but I would say it's still okay, fine, it's a vegetable, and so on, right? Then we have what we refer to as a comprehension question type. It's basically a nested question. So you have sub questions within a question. Typically you may see this being used where there's a passage and then there are multiple questions, but you could just, anytime you want to nest questions as sub questions within a larger question, you could use the comprehension question type. So here you see there's a passage, and then there are multiple choice questions based on it, right? So this question is related to this, and then you can pick this, and so on. So there are two sub questions. So this is question 9, 9.1, 9.2. Then we have the document type. So this is a document type question where you can upload, say, a PDF, and then once you upload the PDF, the candidate can scroll through the PDF, and then they can answer questions based on that, right? So this is a document type question. Then we have what is referred to as answer any. So you can have a bunch of questions, and then you can decide how many questions must be answered of the whole set of questions. So here only one. So if I pick this 11.1, within this can be any sub question. So for example here, this is a close question, right? So it's an answer any. It says elite here because question 11 onwards, the question types, you need to be subscribed to the elite plan on AutoProctor. So up to here, any user of AutoProctor will be able to add these question types. From question 11 onwards, you need to have an elite subscription to be able to use it. So anyway, going back to answer any, so I've chosen 11.1, which means I don't have to choose 11.2. So it says here you can answer only one of these questions. So if I select this, I cannot. So I have to unselect this, then I can't answer this, and then I go in. So if you have maybe, you may have something like answer any 3 out of 5. And so we made it easy to be able to do that kind of thing here. Then we have a voice recording. So again, this is an elite feature. This is very straightforward. You can give it any passage, and then you ask the candidate to record themselves speak. So this is recording me speak right now, and when they're done recording themselves speaking, they can stop, and then they can either play back the audio. They can then upload the audio or record again, right? So if I want, I can go back. So if you want them to answer by voice, you can do this either to test their, say, communication skills, or maybe sometimes answers are best made by audio, so you can do it that way. Here, this is called an auto-graded text. It's a combination of single line input and something like multiple choice, where the answer is automatically graded. So for example, 5 plus 7, it says answer must be a number, so I can't type, I'm trying to type something, it doesn't work, it has to be a number. And once I type this, and if I submit this in the back end, let me actually, I can show you how this will work, right? So if I submit this, I'll show you later that this gets calculated. And it needs to exactly match what you've set it up as in your, when you created the test, right? So these are the different question types within a Socratease quiz on AutoProctor. I've shown you this from a candidate's perspective. I also want to show you how you can create them. So let me switch to this window. Here again on the left, you will see the same thing I just showed you. It's the same questions, right? And on the right, I'm showing you how you can create them. So this is an MCQ. It will just show up like this, right? So I think if you don't know, so you can always add a question. When you add a question in Socratease, you can choose the question type. So you can see all the question types here, right? And then you can, depending on the question type, the fields change a little bit. So I'm just showing you how the field looks for each. So if it's an MCQ, again, this is question, options, correct answer, right? Then there's an MCA. So again, question, options, correct answers. Short text, if I click in, you will see the same, right? An essay, and then allowed characters 10 to whatever, you see that here. Output of the following code, right? So if I open this, again, it's a coding edit type question. I've chosen the languages here. I can choose more. And then whatever I write here is what you will see, right? Then what's your email ID? This is single line input type question. Again, it's just a very straightforward statement, and then you can validate. You can validate, it must be a date, it must be a URL, it must be an email, and so on, right? Then we have close. So the way close works is a little unique. So you will write the sentence first, and then if you underline, so if I underline this, that becomes a blank. You can see here in chess, this is underlined, and so it became a blank. And then you can add options, right? So if I say colors, I'd say if the shapes, right? And so then if I have it like this, so along with this, you'll also see colors here, and you will see shapes, and then this will go away, and then you'll have to drag colors. So this is how close works. Match, you can see here, you have the columns. So the left column is fixed. Taj Mahal, Great Wall Colosseum is what you have here. You can enter the right columns, and then you can drag them. So the candidate will see Taj Mahal and Italy next to each other, and then they have to drag, say, Colosseum to Italy, right? So this is how match works. And then categorize is, you first mention, to classify the following into fruits, is what you see here. You mention the list of categories, so fruits and vegetables. Then you add all the items that you see here, you add the items, and each item you decide what it belongs to. So for example, if you want to be purist and then call a tomato a fruit, you do that. So this is how the correct answer for tomato. Comprehension, you first choose the passage. So water is transparent, you can choose, this could be a passage, but equally well it could be instructions that you give the candidate, and then you have questions underneath. So then there's 9.1, which could be an MCQ. 9.2 is also an MCQ, and then if you want to add in the question, you can say, okay, let me add this, it becomes a 9.3, and you can choose a question type, right? So that's comprehension. Then document is again fairly similar. The only difference is in the document you have to upload the document. So if you do this, you can then, sorry, let me go up. Yeah, you can select the file and so on, right? So that's how document works. And then again, you can have multiple questions there within that. So this is document again, document, answer any. Again, you ask, write the question, you give them instructions. Then each question becomes a sub question, 11.1, 11.2. I could add one more here. You set the number of questions they must attempt. So if I add one more, I could say make this 2, right? And then they will have to answer 2 of 3, right? Again, I'm not discussing points, but you can add points to each question everywhere for each of these questions. If it's answer any, the points you set here, so if it's 5, that will apply to each of the sub questions, right? You can't control the points at the individual level because all questions are expected to be equal, so they have the same number of points. Then this is voice, very straightforward. All you have to do is write the text because the button comes on its own, and then auto-graded. So in auto-graded text, again, you see the question, you choose, this is an exact match, so you choose that it must be an exact match, and then you've chosen the answer type to be an integer. You could also choose it to be a string. So for example, if you want to write something like, in which direction does the sun rise, for example, and then like east. Remember, it's an exact match, so if they wrote east with a small e, it would not work, right? So this is how you create the questions. This question form is what has resulted in this.